Welcome everybody tonight to the La Bologna Valley Bromeliad Society Zoom presentation featuring Mr. Jerry Robinson. Paul has muted all participants for this presentation. Feel free to adjust the view on your screen in your Zoom window for either speaker or gallery. And Jerry will take questions after the video presentation during the slideshow. We will tell you when Jerry is ready to take your questions. You may unmute yourself for your question only. When finished, mute yourself. We're going to have a short club meeting after the presentation. If you'd like to receive announcements of our future meetings, send an email to LBVBS DSL Extreme and you'll be on our mailing list. Thank you, Jerry, for the time and effort you put into your presentation for us tonight. Jerry Robinson is the co-owner of Rainforest Flora, Inc. Jerry grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, Hayward, enjoying outdoor activities including water skiing, snow skiing, hang gliding, cycling, backpacking, and camping. He graduated from UCLA in 1971 with a degree in geology and a minor in scuba diving. That's the first time I've ever heard that. After graduation, he joined an expedition to salvage sunken treasure ships in Bay Islands of Honduras, Jamaica, and Quito, Sueno banks in the Caribbean Sea, the earliest of which sank circa 1612. In 1976, he formed Rainforest Flora, a Tillandsia bromeliad exotic plant nursery in Venice, California, with fellow expedition survivor Paul Isley. Currently, Rainforest is located in Torrance. Jerry has collected plants off the beaten path in Guatemala, Mexico, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Argentina, Peru, Paraguay, Bolivia, Panama, and Brazil. He made 20 product sourcing trips for business to China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, the Philippines, and Singapore. Jerry resides in Manhattan Beach with his wife, Rhonda. He has 2 beautiful daughters and 4 beautiful grandchildren, all living in the South Bay. The LBVBS is a nonprofit organization. Attendance at our Zoom presentations is free to all bromeliad enthusiasts. And if you'd like to support our efforts, donations can be made to the LBVBS to offset our Zoom presentation. And you can use your phone camera to take a picture of the PayPal link or the QR code below to make a donation. Welcome, folks. This is Ken Simpson with the La Bologna Valley Bromeliad Society here at Rainforest Flora, Inc. And owner of Rainforest. Hi, Paul. How you doing?
Fine, Ken. Welcome to Rainforest Flora.
Thank you.
And come on in. We'll show you the operation.
Okay. Now.
So hello everyone, this is Paul Isley from Rainforest Flora. We're here at our Torrance location. We have 3 and 2 in North County, San Diego. This is our retail operation. We've been here for 20 years. There's nowhere like it. We're going to have fun. We'll take you around and show you what we do. We grow a lot of Tillandsias. We have houseplants. We have Bromeliads. And with the COVID thing, there's been a lot of interest in all the different kinds of plants that we have. Now we're going to go for a walk down the aisle here, and you're going to see this amazing fountain. Come on down. Here we have turtles, we have koi. This cedar stump from the state of Washington. You can see this is the root crown, this is the trunk. And it's about, I don't know, 14 feet wide and 10 feet tall. We'll keep going. All these clumps you see hanging up above all started from one plant many years ago. We have a lot of these rock formations, and many of the Tillandsias have been on here for 20 years. For instance, the Centromorpha. And you can see the roots. And these are all from the original plant that we glued on there 20 years ago. And we just watered in here, so everything's a little bit greener than it would normally be. So over here, come on down. This is a great clump of Tillandsia funkiana that started 54 years ago from one plant. 54. We've had it 14 years. Herb Hill had it in Florida for 20 years. And Ralph Davis had it from him for 20 years before that. Started from one plant. So this is one side of our retail area. There's one more really cool plant I want to show you. It's a group. Come on down. These are a lot of the different Tillandsias that we sell.
Tillandsia intermedia.
Yes, very good. An amazing clump of Tillandsia intermedia. It started from just one plant 30, 40 years ago. Back when I was a little kid. Right. And now we're going to go show you our production area. And where's Jerry?
Yeah, where is Jerry?
Jerry's coming.
Okay. Where does this waterfall go down into? Beautiful pond with koi and other fish. Let's take a walk around the corner here, see what's going on. Hey, Paul, how old is this clump of Doradii here?
Again, we've been growing that for, I don't know, 25 years maybe.
Beautiful, beautiful. Here's a view from the other side of the waterfall and the pond with the koi. And look over here, there are so many turtles sunbathing. Let's take a walk down a little further, see what you got going here. So here we are on the outside of Rainforest looking at some of their greenhouses. And here's Paul Isley.
Here we are again, everybody. So we're looking towards the back of the nursery here. It's a little over 5 acres. We moved here 21 years ago. And come on down, I'll show you the production area.
Well, here we are. We've been looking for Jerry Robinson, and Paul wants to show us one of his beautiful cycads.
Yeah, this is a Diane Spinulosum from Mexico. Beautiful cone, nail plant. Very, very heavy. Probably weighs over 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And we'll continue our walk. I don't know where Jerry is, but we'll keep looking.
All right, we'll look for him.
Oh.
Well, there he is. Hey,
What do you
Jerry.
know?
Hi.
Speaking of that, hey Ken.
How you doing?
Good, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. So Paul's been nice enough to walk us around and give the tour.
You got the whole tour?
Got the whole tour.
Now,
but,
it was only Tillandsias, or did he show you the rest of the nursery?
well, speaking of Tillandsias, like, what's your favorite bromeliads?
Well, I mean, I like Tillandsias, but you know, Paul's kind of the Mr. Tillandsia in the world, and he kind of overshadows anybody else as far as Tillandsias goes. So, I mean, I like Tillandsias, but I really like Neurogelias. They grow a lot faster. I can use them in the landscape. I really like the Breeches, especially the foliage Breeches that have the really interesting leaves and colors. I love those. Bilbergias are good. They grow fast, and they're good in the landscape. You know, I talk about landscape a lot. You know, you can use Tillandsias in the landscape, but they're more accent plants. What I try and do is use my Bromeliads and my favorite Bromeliads kind of in different areas of my landscape with palms and with cycads and plumerias and Volcarnias. You know, I could go on and on. It's just kind of hard to express what I really, my passion is. And, you know, maybe can you get over to the house? Maybe we should take you to the house and I can show you what I really love. And, you know, my feeling is I want to walk out onto my deck and feel like I'm in Costa Rica or Hawaii or in some place where these plants can grow naturally. So if it's not too much to ask, I'd love to show you the yard.
No, it's not at all too much to ask. In fact, why don't we go over there now and see what you have going? And I'm just so excited to bring all of our members and visitors to our Zoom session to see your backyard.
Okay, everybody's welcome. No ID necessary. We'll let anybody in, and I'm vaccinated. Hopefully they're all vaccinated too.
All right, well, I'll be over there and I won't wear my mask either.
Okay, perfect.
See you soon.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome, Ken, to my backyard.
Wow, thank you. I've been here before, but it's grown even more. It's beautiful.
This is my best shot. Gives you an idea of what I'm looking for. It's the overall effect when you walk out from the house on the deck, and then you can see the waterfall and all the plants. And you know, I kind of want to get that feeling you're in Costa Rica or Hawaii or someplace like that. That's kind of my main intent here. So I'm glad you saw it this way.
Yeah, I think you have it embodied just beautiful. But as I look around, I see a lot of Platyceriums and ferns and cycads. Do you even have any bromeliads here?
Well, I do, and they're more accent plants. They're hidden. We'll see them closer up as we look closer into the garden. But you got to realize that most bromeliads, and 99% want some shade. So when we start out, we got to make sure we have some kind of shade. And so what I do first is I plant the palms and the trees going. And this was, we've been here 30 years. And of course, at first I have two daughters. And when they were young, we had swing sets and playhouses, and we had a jacuzzi and a hot tub for them to play in and entertain in, and cement to skate on and do all that with, tetherball court. And as they grew up and got a little bit older, we eliminated a lot of that. I planted that tababuya tree when it was a seedling from the nursery, and that's kind of over the waterfall now. That was there before the waterfall, and it got trained to kind of cover over the waterfall, add some shade. I've added some palms since then, and it's what Confucius said, the best time to plant a tree was 50 years ago, the second best time is today.
Today.
And you just got to do it. You got to get some shade in there, you know. And that's one of the things I would like to tell people. They always ask, what can take full sun? Well, you know, it stresses the plants out. You know, there's some palms that love full sun, but the bromeliads in general don't want to have full sun.
So Jerry, tell us a little bit about your Platyceriums over here.
Well, you know, that was one of my favorite plants in the beginning. It was first Tillandsias, and now it's, you know, it's everything. You know, but the staghorns, I've been growing it for like 25, 30 years. You can see the superbum I have is looking pretty good right now. And
Wow, look at that big Platycerium superbum. That's a beauty.
yeah, you picked out my favorite one there. I mean, there's a lot of other ones there. Mostly they're cultivars of Bifurcatum. There's Panama, and there's Wallachii, there's Celebes, there's Lemoyne, there's African Oddity, there's, you know, Corn's Dwarf. You know, there's a lot. I don't have a lot of species. The species are a little bit harder to come by, a little bit harder to grow. But I have maybe 3 or 4 species right there. The rest are cultivars.
Well, they're doing really well.
Yeah, and, you know, they have a shade over them. You know, the staghorn is the best plants to grow in the shade. You know, they're easy, and you water them once or twice a week, and they're happy. You know, and most people have a problem with them getting too big, and they bring them to the nursery to have us separate them and replaque them once they get too big.
Like I do. You know, in addition to your Platyceriums, you have some really nice, big, well-grown Tillandsias. Can you tell us about those?
Well, it just so happens those are my favorite. I think all my favorites are right there. I tend to like the grayer, greener, hardier ones because they're a lot easier to grow. A lot of them have fragrant flowers. As you can see, that giant Doradii, that's my #1 favorite Tillandsia. I even have that one on my business card. And then you can see there's that Edithite clump. I actually, Scott Sykes of Torrance started that, and then I've kind of grown that on a little bit. But Scott Sykes is the one that really got that thing going.
How long have you had it for?
It's probably about 25 years old from a small clump. You know, I have that, and I have some Tectorum over there, and then you see those 2 Stromaneas hanging on the corner there. Below, other Doradii. And then against the wall, I have some Latifolia divaricata, and then the winter circle, which is a Iranthos by Harvey Stricta. So, you know, I'm trying a little design, artwork, things that just, you know, we have cholla at the nursery, and I bring some home, have some pots, put them on the wall, and just see kind of what sticks and what makes it.
So Jerry, tell us about your hardscape and landscape and how you put this all together.
Well, once you get the palms in, then you start putting in some rocks, and these are all natural rocks. These were all forklifted in and placed, and you have the waterfall in the back, a little bit of a stream, about 12 or 15 feet of stream into that koi pond, with our stone bridge, which is an element I like a lot. But it's a key element, I think, for the yard, especially with the sound. It has that soothing sound, and it's quite relaxing to sit there and listen to the water. You see the koi, there's about, I don't know, 15. There was 20 koi, but I think the heron and the raccoons kind of, over the years, have feasted on those, and generally they take the ones that are the prettiest or the best colors, the ones that they take. Now there's 4 turtles, and it's interesting that these guys are been in here for years. They stay here. There's at least one female, and we'll catch her walking around the yard and looking at a place to lay her eggs. And we've actually had 3 or 4 baby turtles we've found walking in the yard that we've grown, protected. They're too small to survive in the pond. They'll get caught in the filters, but we'll put them in a tank and feed them until they get big enough to go in the pond at rainforest. Go ahead. So Ken, this is one of my favorite plants in the landscape. It's a bird of paradise, but it doesn't have the leaf. It only has the tubular leaves. The bloom is exactly the same as the other Strelitzia Reginas. It's just, this is Juncea, and it's got the really skinny leaves. It's a great plant. Now, this is a tapioca plant, and I have several tapiocas because they provide a lot of shade quickly. This is probably 2 years old from a seed. Volunteer, you look around the garden, you'll see these tapiocas volunteering quite a bit. Like all these were volunteers, and I just let them grow completely up, and they add some shade in the summer.
Yeah.
So it's good, and they go deciduous in the winter. Over here we have Encephalitis Trispinosus, one of the lure of the cycads.
Yeah, I noticed your pups are blue.
You know, I think, that's a good question. Why? This is a lot of shade. It probably would like a little bit more light, but it does do really well here. This is north facing, so in the summer we'll get more light, but in the winter it doesn't get any direct sun.
That caudex is maybe 2 feet wide. It's a real thick, mature caudex.
Yeah. You've taken quite a few pups off of it. I think you even have one of them at your house.
I do.
Yeah, I do. And then over here we have a Cycas Rumphii. That one will get a pretty good trunk, whereas the Trispinosus is very low growing. Even though it's been there for 25 years, it doesn't have much trunk. Whereas the Rumphii has been there probably 20 years and it's starting to get a little bit of a trunk now.
Yeah.
Nice meet.
Hold on.
So, wanted to ask you a question so the people that are watching this will understand the climate that you
We're in
have.
the coastal zone. We're about 2.5 miles from the ocean here. We're kind of cutting the hillside a little bit, so we're a little bit protected. Probably don't get temperatures too much below the low 40s. And, some things, I haven't, not 100% successful. There's, being in the business, I can afford to do some experimentation. The things that don't make it, then they get out of the garden and we put something else and try it. But you can see here we have, that's Encephalitis princeps. Then we have the king palm over up here. That's a fairly recent addition within the last 5 years. Some of my favorite neos, I'm trying to get a little ground cover here with the dongers. And one of the more recent introductions is the heat wave. It's the Carolina by Fluminescence neo. And it kind of spreads out slowly. It can take a lot of light. And it does well. You can see I have a cardboard palm here, Xania furfuracea. And then we have a Dioun Edgula type over here that's got a pretty good trunk on it. And then I use the neos to go down below just to take advantage of the shade and to add a little accent to the planting.
I like the way you use the purple rocks and then you have the ground cover different to fill in between. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it easier to keep control of the weeds. You can see there's some oxalis growing that unfortunately my grandkids aren't quite old enough to give them $1 an hour to pick weeds.
I saw him climbing trees before I got here.
Henry would rather climb trees than pick weeds.
Well, Jerry, thank you so much for having us come over and sharing your beautiful, lush, verdant garden with us. And I tell you, I get that feeling like I'm in the tropics or Hawaii or someplace that you said you wanted to remind
Like Costa
you
Rica.
of. Or Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact,
Wait,
just wanted to give you a Chester scope.
speaking of Costa Rica,
Uh-huh.
which one is this?
This is Chester's Miragilia Invincible.
Wow.
One of my favorites in my collection, and I thought that I didn't see it over at Rainforest, so I thought I'd give you one.
Scotec hybrids are hard to get a hold of, though I did pick up this Harpo, Miragilia Harpo from Live Art in Gardena. Larry and Natalia tabling. There's a few plants in my garden I've got from them. And they do a good job growing Bromeliads in the South Bay also. They're very active and supportive of the club too.
Yeah, your company and their company, Live Art, are both really helpful for all of us bromeliad enthusiasts here.
Or addicts.
Addicts, fair enough.
You know, and what's it? You can't share this with other people. You know, the pleasure that these plants, and you see that, you know, I'm in the bromeliad business, and we do mostly tillandsias, but you know, it's all plants. You know, there's some rare plants here. There's some really rare plants here, but it's not about that. You can duplicate this with Cantia palms and king palms and Volcarnias and Plumerias, and then you put your accents, your bromeliads, your tillandsias, your orchids, your succulents. My wife is an was a director of ER at LA hospitals, and after a stressful day, she'll come home and pick weeds, and it's just, it's more her garden, I think, than my garden. You know, it's our garden because we both put a lot of effort into it, but it's just the fact of being immersed in these plants and just the feeling it gives you to make you feel that, you know, you're where they grow naturally, and you get that benefit. You know, it's why we do it. That's why I do it. I don't want to have one of everything. You know, I have that at the nursery. This is where I want to, where people, when they come and they can enjoy it, we can share it, and if they want, I can help them duplicate it in their yard.
Yeah. Well, what adds to the uniqueness of your garden is the age of the plants, that you've been growing these for 30 years here. For example, that tall palm over there, which has a trunk with probably a
4 foot diameter.
yeah, at least.
It's Parajubea torrealii, and I got it in my sedan. You know, when I brought it from the palm enthusiast in Thousand Oaks. I can't remember his name now, but you know, and it was it was like in a probably 2-gallon bucket, and I brought it and planted it there, and I think the kids skated around it for a few years while it was getting established, and you know, just, you know,
It's over 30 feet tall.
yeah, and
looks like from here.
the good thing about it doesn't take up a big footprint. You know, it's not wasting space, but also if you took some stills, maybe they could see of the Neurgelia ampullacea by Passiflora that's growing down. That's really cool. I have a Platycerium, a staghorn that's growing on the side too. So you can take those standard plants and then add the accents to it and make it.
I'll take some still pictures and give them to our videographer, Barry Landau,
put 'em in
over there.
Yeah.
And thanks, Barry, for taking your time and effort to do this also.
No problem. And Jerry, just so people know, what are the hours over at Rainforest Flora?
We're there 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 5 on Saturday, and 11 to 4 on Sunday.
Well, thanks,
Closed
Jerry.
Major holidays.
Thank you, Jerry.
Okay.
And thanks, Ken.
Thank
You're
you, Barry.
welcome.
Appreciate all you do for the societies.
Okay, does everybody see the handsome guy on the screen right now?
Yes.
Okay,
So Ken, you want me to start commenting or? should we take-
yeah. Comment and then let me know when you want me to move on to the next one.
Okay, that's obviously me in front of my my Platycerium superbum, and then the upper right hand is the Tillandsia doradii variety King Kong, a little bit curlier variety than the normal doradii, and a few stags in the back. We'll move right on. Go ahead next.
Yeah, by the way, anybody that wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, feel free.
Now, I do apologize that we haven't seen that many bromeliads yet, but that's what I do every day, so I kind of get lost in the other plants when I go home. So anyway, this is a little bit farther back view of my I call it my trophy wall with all my staghorns. Go ahead next. Close up of the doradii. Next. That's a shot at night.
Jerry,
You can see, what's
how
that?
old is this staghorn, that huge one?
It's probably about at least 15 years, maybe 15, 17 years old.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. There's a Tillandsia and a mounting that's hanging in front of it. There's a few little mini Neos and some Tillandsias on it. So I do have a few Bromeliads hanging around my staghorns too. You can see my wife sign wine a bit. That's her favorite thing to do is to sit on the patio and have a glass of wine. Next.
This is the night shot.
It's still, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the Edithii clump. I have to give more credit to Scott Sykes than to myself. I actually trimmed it down to fit in that circle of that Balinese applique. And then to the right of that, there's a swirl cactus skeleton that has the Tillandsia hondurensis and Tillandsia fasciculata on it. Next. In the video, but on the top is Tillandsia divaricata or Tillandsia latifolia divaricata. There's in the center of the cholla, there's a bergerie clump that's blooming, and then lower right is a winter circle, and then in the middle bottom is the Nerogelia Moore pepper, which is a Carl Lambert plant. And then next, and you can see a closer up view of the winter circle. Go ahead, next, Ken. There it is. And that one's been blooming about 2 weeks. Those blooms will last maybe 3 or 4 weeks, but it's a beautiful plant. It grows fast, and it even when it's not blooming, it's got beautiful leaves. Next. And there's on the deck, these are my cat's favorite plants because her feed bowl and her water's right there, but you can see a Variesia gigantea, then a Acmea variegated chantinii, also known as samurai. And then behind that samurai is one of a bullus, one of my good friend Harvey Bullus's cultivars from Acmea, named after his mother. And then in the very back, there's a Variesia. It's a white, like a Fosteriana white in the very back. Okay, next. Oh, you can see the grandkids' toys in the back too. They spend a lot of time there. Okay, now we're getting into some of my favorite accents. I know that we've mentioned that a lot, but there's in this upper center, you can see it's a handmade gas lamp. And we actually, Rhonda and I picked that up at the World Bromeliad Conference in New Orleans. And it's one of our favorite accents on the deck. And we have one on each far end of the deck. And you can see when we go to the next slide, what it looks like at night. Next.
Where's that window go through to?
There we go. And the line, it is a gas lamp. It's not a solar powered or electrical. It is actually gas. There's a gas line that comes up off of the house. And then you can see the window that it reflects. That's just some things you can do with other people's junk. I think I found that one of Paul Isley's tenants left it at the nursery, and it's a mirror, looks like a window, and it adds a little more depth of vision to that staghorn wall. Next. Okay, that's another view. That's if we just turned around from that wall and look out, and then you can see I have Tillandsia usneoides, and there's a few orchids from Andy's Orchids on Sticks. There's a palm, a Kentia palm there with the staghorn growing on. It's kind of hard to see. There's kind of a lot going on in that photo. Next. And that from that same shot, this a little bit towards the center of the yard, just a mobile that's got some Tillandsia inantha And then this comes from China. Our good friend Jackie Wen designed that. He started out as a ceramics provider. Now he's a Tillandsia distributor in China. So it's kind of he came full circle, and he's always come up with new ideas to display Tillandsias for the Asian market and the US market.
Jerry, can I ask when did you start the Chinese business? Or
1995.
oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I've been going to China almost every year since 1995.
And for
Things are getting a little bit different there now. We do a lot of ceramics and a lot of the resin. You'll see some of the resin birds. There's actually in the very lower left, there's a macaw, a resin macaw. You can see his red head kind of sticking up. And that's one of our best sellers at Home Depot. But we've been doing the resin since 95, and it's still as popular now as it was when we first started. And but the people, the next generation in China, they do not want to work in the factories. They want to do tech and internet stuff. So I think these kind of things are maybe going to come to pass in the next few years, at least from China. Maybe have to bring them from Indonesia or India or someplace else. Next. Now there's a close-up of my waterfall. I know that when we were talking about the whole landscape, there wasn't a lot of panning of the yard. There was more of Ken and myself chatting, but you can see now that, that's my waterfall. I was a geology major at UCLA, so there's a lot of rocks around there. And I use them, the natural rocks, and all over the landscape. And then, then bromeliads go really well. You can glue Tillandsias on the rocks, or you can plant neos in between the cracks, and it makes a nice effect. No bromeliads, I think, in that photo. And that's that same shot at night. Next. And there's my pond and my 15 koi. And you can see the turtles are upper left. Looks like they're going for a walk. Looks like it's funny because they leave the pond and then they come back into the pond, and you think that they disappear sometimes for a while and they come back. So, but that's their home because I feed them a couple times a week. Next. Pond at night with the Cycas rumphii, and then that light is actually a core of a aragonite. We'll see more of those rocks as we continue on with the slideshow. And you can see the way I water. I have on the left, the risers. That one's probably about a 3-foot riser. Most of the time they're hard to notice in the landscape. If you put them too low, then all the plants eventually grow over them and kind of muffle them out. But you can almost make it seem like the plants are getting rainwater. I do not filter my water, so they're getting just city water. Next. And then there's Alcantara Imperialis on the right, one of the favored bromeliads for landscape, especially around hotels and resorts. If you go to Hawaii, you'll see them all over the place in a lot of different hybrids and variations of the Alcantara Imperialis. Next. And that's a shot coming down from the deck. It's my latest edition with my trademark rocks, and then a cycad in the center, and then that big albo-marginated Neoregelia, Dr. Jeffrey Block. And then there's some mini neos around as accent plants, and then a few little succulents to kind of set them off. Then a few palms on either side. You don't see them very well in this photo. Next. Okay, there's a close-up. There's a purple Vresia on the left of the Jeffrey Block. I'm not sure what that one is. And then there's what we call a Vresia red favorite to the right of that plant. And then around there's some Australian mini neos that we picked up at the World Conference in Australia at Cairns. Okay, next. And then at night. I just recently, within the last 6 months, redid all my lights with LED low voltage lights. And I'll have some photos of what the fixtures look like at the end of the program. Next. Now with some of my larger Varesias, I really like the foliage Varesias. Can we focus that a little bit more, or is that the best we can do?
What happened? It's not in
The
focus.
focus is
I don't know. It must be.
okay. Anyway, what I've done with these is I've put in ceramic pots to kind of elevate them. I use the Neos close as more ground cover and growing around the plants. But with these Varesias, they get, you know, 2 or 3, they get at least 3 feet across, and they like their space, and they have such interesting leaves. Now these have been out under the shade for about 6 months. They went through the winter, and they have no marks, or they're, you know, they're really look good still. So then you can see I've used some rocks just to kind of set off the pots, and also to try and help keep the weeds down. And then there's a right in the middle, below that middle, that it's a hieroglyphica that's there. And then there's aragonite, which is the rocks that I use in my landscape that light up at night. We'll see some of those later. And then to the left of the hieroglyphica is one of David Shiggy's hybrids, Varesia hybrid. It's Shirlette, named after his wife. But David is in the Big Island of Hawaii, and he has some of the most amazing Varesia hybrids. He's a great hybridizer. Next. Okay, there's my other favorite Varesias. There's Gigantea to the left. To the right is Varesia nova. And then down below is a John Arden hybrid. It's called Twilight. And John Arden was one of the really active hybridizers. You'll see a lot of his plants. I think John and Herb Hill, and then David Fell and David Shiggy and then the DeRuses. There's a lot of guys that, you know, have done a really amazing job with hybridizing the Varesias. And then in the back, the cycad there is Cycas thorsii. That's one that can take a lot of light, but it still likes some shade. It's under a palm tree. It likes some shade from direct sun, but it's the more tropical looking of all the cycads, I think. And it doesn't have spines, and it's great for landscaping. It does get a trunk, and it grows taller, and it provides some pretty good shade. And then to the very left of that is one of my other aragonite rocks, which I think we'll see some lit up pretty soon. Next. Okay, that's just another shot. You can see the sprinkler riser to the left, and that's right by the deck, and that has a triangular pattern that waters. You can see there's some clivias, and, you know, I put a lot of different things in there. It's just, you know, they're in deep shade, but they have really brilliant flowers still. Then there's the Varesia gigantea in front. Next. Okay, that's set at night. Now you can see the way that aragonite lights up. It has probably about a 10-watt landscape fixture it's cored out, maybe 3 inches, and you put the landscape light in there, and it lights it. It's translucent. They range from yellow to yellow orange to yellow red to red. So they're great. Unfortunately, they're hard to come by now. They come from eastern Nevada, and whoever was mining those has sold the mine, and I'm not sure what's happened, but I'm still trying to bring some more in. Next. Okay, now we talked about the biggest palm that's probably 30 feet tall. You can see the back of the house looking at the deck, but that's the Parajubea torrealii. And when I got it, it was probably 3 or 4 feet tall, and it's probably been there for 25 years. And then right below it, in the bottom of the photo, is is my Platycerium Bifurcatum, and it's a big clump that's sitting on a ceramic pot. When they get that big, sometimes they're kind of hard to hang. They get heavy, and if they get really wet, then they usually fall and break apart. So I've put it on probably pots 24 inches in diameter, and that makes a good base for it. Next. Another one of my favorite light fixtures, the Tulip Bulbs, and that's right by my Encephalitis Trispinosus. There's me in front of that palm. You can see that's that big palm, that Parajubea. You can see the Rhegias to my right, and to the left are Neurogilias from Bullous Bromeliads, Neurogilia Maria, and the big one is Neurogilia Magali. I think that's the way you pronounce it. Next, we'll have probably some close-ups of some of those bromeliads. Next. Okay, and that's that same big palm. What's pretty cool about a lot of the palms is they have that mesh that's a natural. I'm not sure why the palms have that, what the evolutionary function of that is, but it's great for putting tillandsias on. That's Tillandsia neglecta blooming, and that's one that I've grown outside in Manhattan Beach for probably 20 years from a single plant. And then, but also with that mesh that surrounds the palms, you can stuff sphagnum moss in there and put in mini neos. I put some bilbergias in there. I put in, you'll see this to the left and another side, the Ampullaceae by Passiflora that trails down so perfectly. Next. And there's the Platycerium Bifurcatum. I'm not sure if it's Maui or Mauna Loa, but it's one of those cultivars. Then I can see below it is the Neurogilia Ampullacea by Possifolia, and the main plant is actually in moss, but the rest of them just emanate from that and then just grow everywhere, and they don't really need the moss. What I do is I kind of wire them to the side of the palm just to kind of keep them under control. Next. And that's with it lit from below. Next.
Excuse me, Jerry. Do you
Yes.
mind sharing what's the origin or native place of this huge palm? This very
You know, I
interesting.
don't know where it grows naturally, but it's called Parajubea torrealii. You can probably look at Google it, and they'll probably tell you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next. Okay, now that's at the same palm. Then we're looking at the Rhegia Charlotte, and then we're looking over at the Neo Maria and the Neo Magali from Bullous, and I got those through Live Art. Next, a little bit closer up. They're beautiful colors. Next. Now as we go around from that, now we get some other plants. You can see that I have quite a few tree aloes, maybe 3 or 4 in the yard. That one is the Barberi. And then if you look to the left, there's one in a small pot. On the very left, that's Ramatissima, the smallest tree aloe. And then I have a hybrid between those two in another, we'll see in the other part of the yard. But there's a Agave Americana variegata right in the center. And then below that is a Acmea, little miniature Acmea, some mini neos, and that's about it. Okay, next.
Jerry, the Parajubea is from Bolivia.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Did everybody get that? The Parajubea is from Bolivia?
Yep.
Okay, then
Thanks, Barry.
then we see there's another bulbous plant is the Acmea pinot noir, and it looks a lot like a Blanchandiana, but it's it's burgundy. It's a beautiful plant. That's a recent addition, so I'm not sure how it'll do in the landscape. It's been there about 4 to 6 weeks now.
Mine
I
did
have
beautifully.
Yeah,
Mine grew up a huge pup. I have to separate them, but
Yeah.
I got mine from in Florida from as a tiny pup, maybe 5 years ago, and now it's huge.
Now, is it a Blanchandiana sport, or do you know what the origin is of it?
It was just listed as Acmea Pinot Noir, and I got it from, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember her name, in Florida.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
think of it in a minute.
All right, thanks, Nancy. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a beautiful plant.
Yeah, easy to grow.
Now, a lot of the Blanchandianas get a lot of marks on them. You'll see when we'll look at my orangeades in a minute, and you don't realize how do they get these marks on them, because I don't know if it's the wind and the leaves are kind of sawing against each other, but does that one do that, or does it stay pretty intact with the
Mine isn't that one. That one's in a pot, and it's under the 50% shade cloth on the backyard, so it gets lots of light. But my orange Blanchandianas are in full sun, and they do beautifully. Don't need to do anything to them, and we have very little water here, so.
And they send out lots of pups, right?
Right. I think I have several huge pots full of them too that I can't move or lift. So I'd say to me, the Blanchandiana orange is the best landscape plant for a dry, full sun area.
Okay. We'll see some in a minute. I have a couple in my yard.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Next. Okay, that gives you a better shot. Well, that's the Pinot Noir is in front, and then my staghorn fern that's in the pot that's on four cinderstone block high to elevate it to eye level. Next. That's just that same shot, but at night. Next. There's my two Blanchandianas, the orangeades. And it's a beautiful plant. I try and get some orange accents around it. I got some kind of a ground cover growing there. There's a Pachypodium lameri in between. It's just now starting to send its leaves out. Next. Now this is kind of what happens with Neurogelias when you leave them in your landscape, and why I like them so much for putting them around the rocks, because they actually grow up against the rocks and they kind of elevate themselves a little bit above the rocks. What's nice about the Neos, you start with one, and the next year you have two or three, and the next year you have 4 or 5, and then you just keep trimming them back, cleaning out the old leaves, cut off the mother as she passes. But I think that one is Oster hybrid, which is, I think in Florida they call it Royal Burgundy. And then there's what we call Oster hybrid with the bigger green spots in those two. And then there's a mini Neo in the front. I think that one's pink polka dot. It doesn't show up too well, but it's right between the two purple Neurogelia clumps. Okay, next. And then one of the few solar lights I still have in the yard. They don't usually last too long. That's why I've gone to hard wiring raw copper fixtures and eliminated most of my landscape lights that are solar powered. Next. There's those two lights at night. And those are the Blanchandianas behind it. Next. Okay, there's one of our resin parrots. That one's like a full-size macaw. And we cannot keep them in Home Depot they sell so fast. We have people that fight over them when they come in, and we can't bring a lot in because they take up so much space, and the freight would double the price of the bird. So when we bring the smaller things in, we always bring in 500 or 600 of those, and they last maybe a month. But I know when I first showed a buyer at Home Depot, he said with that one red bird, he could sell $100,000 worth of that a year, and he's done better than that. Just that one bird at Home Depot. Well, we're in 100 Home Depot, so that's not a lot per store, but they do sell really well. And you don't have to feed them, and they're not noisy.
Does it have a name?
Does not have a name. Anyway, next.
I recognize that bromeliad. What's the name of that one again?
That was an Anise luminescence variety bronze top. Yeah, I had to have a pineapple in there in there someplace.
Perfect.
Yeah. Next. Oh, and there's Tillandsia tricolor below it too. Now this is what my pathway lights look like. They're, I don't know, about 16 inches tall. You know, you buy them and they're a raw copper, and then they get to patina after a couple months, but they're very solid. I get my lights from C2C in Chatsworth. It's at letter C, number 2, letter C in Chatsworth, California. And they're very, very reasonable compared to retail outlets, all mail order. And that one's probably about 10 watt. So you get a transformer and you can put a lot of those on there. Whereas the other incandescent lights, you know, they're 30 or 40 watts, and then you max out your transformers pretty quickly with those. Next. And that's the uplight. That's was a raw copper. Now they come in 5, 10, and 15 watts, and you can get a different spread on the angle of the light. You can get an 18 degree, you can get a 25 and a 32. So you can do a close spot, or you can get a wider flood with those. And if you go to most retail outlets, they're going to be probably $60 or $70 or more each. But I think through the C2C, they're about $43, $45 each. But they're very sturdy, and I really like them. Next. And that's an Acmea gammacephala right next to it. Okay, now there's the transformer. These are all low voltage, 12 volt. And that's my transformer. What I really wanted to show people was that this transformer does not have a dial where you set the time. It's photosensitive. So when the sun goes down, and then the lights come on, and then all you have to do is set it how many hours you want the lights to remain on. Like I have it set for 4 hours. So if it gets dark at 6:30 or 7, then it's out, they're off at 11. And no more worried about when your electricity goes off, or, you know, if you get a daylight savings time, it automatically, it's always comes on at dusk, and it always turns off when you want it to. And I have my yard in 2 zones. And I think that probably is good for, I don't know, 240 watts, something like that. So it's quite a bit for the LEDs. If I was using the old style bulbs, then you would max it out pretty quickly. Next. And this is one of my, in the very background, there's a tree aloe that's it's a hybrid between Aloe barbari, which used to be Aloe bainesii, they changed that, and Ramatissima, and that one's, though you take the smallest tree aloe and put it with a pretty good sized tree aloe, and you get a bigger tree aloe that's kind of hybrid vigor. You know why the hybrids get bigger than the parents? It's always a mystery to me. But you can see another one of the aragonites in front of that fan palm. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of that palm. But then if we take the next slide, we'll see what it looks like lit at night. You know, there's one of my regular landscape uplights, and then also that lights up the palms and the tree aloe, but then there's also the aragonite that adds that bright red color to it. Next. And then you can see the area you're seeing in my yard is about 50 feet by 50 feet. My whole yard is 50 by 150. The house is 2-story, but the footprint is only a little over 1,000 feet. The house itself is like 2,200 square feet. So it's like 1,100 square feet on each floor. So it's set forward. It's close to the street as it can be legally. So, and then I have a guest house and a garage in the back. And then in between those two is what I've landscaped and what you've seen tonight. So it kind of gives you the enclosed feature. I have a 12-foot fence on the west side because I'm cut into the side of a hill, so I can get away with that. And so we get a pretty good private feel for being in a city. Next. And then that's towards the back. That's kind of a next project, is to kind of put a few more bromeliads in landscape. That's Cycas taiwanensis, and then another aragonite in front of it. And then there's a bunch of succulents my wife snuck in when I wasn't looking. And then they always overgrow. You know, I like bromeliads and palms and those kind of cycads because they don't grow so fast. You don't have to keep trimming them back. You know, you cut fronds off every few weeks, or you take a pup off once or twice a year. So, but the succulents tend to get out of control. The next slide should be the same shot, but with the light of the rock illuminating the whole area, fan palm and the cycas there.
You there, Jerry? I lost Jerry.
Yeah, I don't get a sound either. Jerry, I think you got muted.
We'll give him a minute to reconnect. Do you see him on I don't see any people. I just see the screen.
Yeah, he's still, the video's still there. I don't know what to do. Type it in chat.
I can't do that.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Thanks.
I don't know if he'll see it though. Jerry, we can't hear you.
Oh.
He saw it.
I think he muted himself somehow.
Yeah, Ken.
We can't hear you. Do you know how to unmute yourself?
I didn't do anything. I'm muted, now I'm unmuted.
Put your cursor over your. Do you see yourself? If you put your cursor there, it'll say whether you're unmuted or muted, and you can undo it.
Where though? I don't.
He's not muted.
You're not. Oh, he's not.
No.
No.
So it's a
Well,
Here now.
can you see it, Jerry?
Can I see what?
Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
believe it or not, you can go on doing this with him on the phone.
That's what I'm going to do. Can everybody hear him all right? Say hi, Jerry. Jerry,
Yeah.
you're going to talk over the phone and everybody can hear you. Yeah, we can
you
all.
hear me now?
Yeah. So you can.
So you want me to?
Yeah, keep going. I'll just go next and next when you want me to.
Okay. Yeah. So we have the stone lady, the cord line behind her, the sprinkler, 4-foot sprinkler riser to the left of her, and then a foxtail palm, and then there's some ginger in the back, and then some bilbergias in the foreground. Oh, bilbergia pink patches. Next. So that just, the sound just went out recently over the last slide or two, or?
Yeah, just before
Yeah.
the bromeliad goddess there to the left.
Okay. All right, so that's an overall view of the middle of the yard at night.
It's beautiful.
The side gets lit up. And
A little different perspective on the same.
look at the deck and, from the back by the garage. You can see I do have a neighbor above me. But he's mostly hidden from us. Any other questions? Next,
We'll go to the next.
yeah, next. Oh, there's my T-Rex.
Wow.
Girl, grandson. Got that in China. Brought it back.
That scares off all the mealy bugs and scale and aphids and everything.
And no, it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. If it did, I'd be bringing them in by the container load.
There you go. And the final shot.
Hercules. I mean, Alpha Hercules, and then the two the bromophiles.